Life, it's a work in progress. It's about moments, memories, people, connections. And every interaction that I do with people that matters to me motivates me and inspires me to be better and to continue progressing in this work of life. Conversations with extraordinary people about this beautiful journey called life. And you're going to find it here in the Visible Audio Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome one more time to the Visible Audio Podcast. We have a wonderful, wonderful episode for you today because I think a lot of you, and especially me, can relate to this topic. So we're going to be talking about touch and how important it is, and especially on these days of COVID, how much we have emphasized that the lack of touch, it is so important to a human being. So I don't know if you can relate to this, but I'm sure a lot of us can. And especially my guest today, we have one more time Rhegan with us, and I'm so happy. Yay! Hi, Rhegan.
Hi,
How are you?
thank you.
Yes, it's always nice to have her. And as you guys know, and if you have followed our episodes, we have had Rhegan before for two of our episodes that were very touchy and very, very nice, emotional and good, and having all the goodness of inspiration. So thank you so much for joining me one more time, Rhegan.
Yep.
So first of all, before we start with all this, and I want to mention why I actually have Rhegan with me, because aside of my friend, I consider her an expert on a lot of many things, but especially she has a lot of knowledge on early childhood and families and emotional and social connections. You just have so much knowledge about that. And on top of that, she has a new business. And I don't know if Rhegan, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I recently launched a new business called Wildflower. And Wildflower offers just a range of things that have come up that I've done informally in the community before, like child development classes or like coaching around social emotional health through the different developmental stages, and particularly breastfeeding, now that I am officially an internationally board certified lactation consultant. So Wildflower offers just different services and consulting, and yeah, really just all things birth to five. We're kind of starting small, but definitely the social emotional piece is our primary target right now, because that's just what we've done for a really long time, and really, I believe, is the foundation of all development, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, I do agree so much, and I love that that there is this service here in our town of Sierra Vista, especially because it's so needed. We have so many families that need to know a little bit more about early childhood development and have that support too. It's so important. So digging into our conversation today.
yeah.
Um, I'm going to tell you, I know that if you guys have followed my episodes, you know that I typically start with a quote and the meaning. Today, I want to do it a little bit different because what prompted me to talk about this is obviously something about my own experience, but mostly has been a story. I want to put it that way, a story that I heard on the radio. And I think it's a story that a lot of us everywhere can relate to. So the story was about a doctor. And I don't think, Rhegan, you know about this, but the story was about a doctor. And unfortunately, she was kind of forced to be away from her children for a while, and her spouse. And they talk about this wonderful relationship that they have together as a family and how every moment was so special. But what I recall mostly about the story was the fact that she describes so deeply how the the reuniting time or reunification time with her family was, even though it was through a screen, and even though it was only for a short period of time. Eventually, they released her from her duties, and she also described that moment where she could just hug her children and just be so close to them and feel them, and have that, that feeling, that touch, that special touch, that you can only feel when you hug somebody that is special to you. And that made me realize that, it made me also feel for myself. And although, I don't have this situation at the moment, I'm very lucky to have my family, my near family anyways, with me. I still have sometimes feelings of that lack of touch. I'm a very hugging person, and Rhegan knows that. I like to hug people. I think that is a very sincere and honest, just welcome to let's have a nice communication, a nice conversation, a nice encounter. And to me, not to do that, and I haven't done it for a while, it's a little bit weird. And especially when I see friends and I just don't know what to do with myself, and they probably see this awkward look in my face of
Yeah, I feel.
yeah, what do I do with my hands? So but I want to talk about this because I think it's very important, and I think that there's a lot of people that needs to hear this, that if you feel this way, you're not alone. And also how it feels, not only at different stages of our lives, but also in many other cultures. Because you have to understand that there's other cultures where the touch can be even more intensified on a daily basis, and now they have to deprive from that. I'm sure that's a shocker for them too, but I know that Rhegan have a lot of information and a lot of knowledge about especially how important this is in early childhood. Because if you are like me and have a child, you know that your kids are also, getting deprived from this. They're not able to see their friends or have contact. And for them, it's a little more difficult, or a lot more difficult, to understand this. So I know that you know more than I do, and probably say it better than I do, how important is this, when they're little bitties, from when they're little bitties until, progressively our adulthood.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly important. And I'll share a little bit more about that, but I want to piggyback on what you're saying about the coronavirus epidemic and how that's changing things, because one conversation that I've been having with colleagues, because for my other position outside of my business, my personal business, I work a lot with preschool sites and early child care centers. And there's been a lot of conversation about, if those kids, these little kids, like 3, 4, 5-year-olds, go back into preschool, and the guidelines are 6 feet apart, and the providers or the teachers have to stay away. What kind of impact is that going to have on these little ones? And so that's a very real conversation that a lot of preschool teachers are really worried about. And we've been having like I said, just a lot of conversations. And really what has come out of that is these preschool teachers are knowledgeable about social emotional development and know the importance of physical touch, and they're going to just take it upon themselves to, wear masks and gloves if needed, and long sleeves, and be really good about hand washing and that kind of thing, so that they don't have to deprive children of those hugs or touching, or even guiding them, or if a kid comes to you with something, so that they don't have to deprive them of that, because it is so important. And it's more, I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm not a doctor, so I don't know about, I would never say that hugs are worth the risk of getting coronavirus, ever. So please take no judgment on what I'm saying about coronavirus. And at the same time, thinking about what can we do to be safe, especially we're thinking about the long-term risks and benefits of keeping distance from little kids, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. And it's, I think it's something that it's affecting them the most because they may understand part of what is going on, but they don't have a fully understanding grasp on this and on how, you know, how they're supposed to interact. And I can say from personal experience that that was one of the main things with my kids. I know I was sharing something with you earlier Rhegan, about you know, we went to visit one of our neighbors safely, obviously, but my kids were just so all over the place and not knowing how to really have those social boundaries and those social how to establish those social connections properly. It was almost like I just freed wild animals to just, you know, do whatever. So
yeah, I mean, if you're experiencing that personally with your own family, like that's a conversation we've been having with these preschool teachers, because times that by 10 or 30 or however many kids are going to be allowed in the classroom at a time right now. The priority, I think, for a lot of teachers right now, preschool and beyond, is going to be that social emotional health and relearning social skills and boundaries. And that's going to take most of the time in the work, really. I mean, I can't even imagine that there's going to be much math build in, like language building happening right now, because the kids are struggling. They feel it. Like if we feel it, I feel it. I'm like you, where I'm a huggy person. And so actually this morning I did a little social distance coffee meetup with one of my girlfriends, and, you know, we were apart. I had my mask. I'd like take a little sip of coffee, and we just kind of were essentially shouting at each other across the parking lot so that we could hear each other. And at the end, it was like, bye. And I feel it here. I feel all things like emotionally in my chest, and I felt it, and it hurt. Like it was, there was like an ache to hug people. And so if we feel that ache and we feel the absence of that physical touch, I can only, and I can rationalize why we need to do that. I can only imagine how that feels to a little one that has no idea and has no idea why they're being told no.
And yeah, I'm glad to hear that I wasn't the only awkward one because I thought so. I thought maybe this is just something of me. Maybe it's just something cultural. Everybody seems very cool and composed and, you know, not needing to be touching people. But, and I don't know if this is true. I think it's more cultural sometimes than anything else too, because, what I will say, I read an article and it was very interesting to me, especially knowing that, you know, I was born and raised in another country. So the majority of my childhood was experienced a little bit different. But it was very interesting because it talked about comparing, I guess, the United States need for touch, or people in the United States need of touch, or, you know, have that connection at least. And they were comparing with people in Paris, France. And they said that basically, you know, people in the United States are okay with touching, you know, or the average, I guess, is 1 every 30 minutes. And then in Paris, just 20 every 30 minutes. And I'm like, whoa. And how much is affecting actually them, you know, not to be able to say hello with a kiss, you know, because that's what they usually do. But it also prompted me to think that there's other countries that do that too. It's, you know, it's very common to, you know, say hi with hello with a kiss or something like that, or a hug or a handshake or something of some sort. So, so that, you know, was very, very interesting. But then I start thinking, you know, if I'm struggling this much here, I can only imagine how other people are doing it.
Right.
Right. And also not only that, but also that's what made me think, like I mentioned before, how also generations or maybe age groups can be feeling it different. You know, I I do think, like I mentioned before about my kids, then I also thought about that other big age group, which is the people that are, much older, in the older generation. And, some of them right now isolated in a way, in retirement homes, by themselves, not able to connect with family members, and how hard that can be as well. Well, not only that, but people, in hospitals, um, and even people newborn. I'm sure you have seen a lot of videos and clips of grandparents through the window trying to connect with the newborn grandchild.
Yeah.
And which is it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big, if you have your firstborn, and you want your whole family to see him or her, and to have that experience, and unfortunately for some new moms, that's not the case, or some new grandparents, that's
right.
not the case. But that makes me sad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the silver lining of coronavirus, and we're thinking about the importance of touch, is for those newborns and for those little babies. They might be getting more holding and touching time than maybe, I mean, I don't know, but maybe they would if people were out and about, and they were in like car seat carriers, or going back to childcare or something like that, those little babies. And so I think that maybe is one good thing, even though that they're not getting their parent or their grandparents or their family members, these little ones might be getting more touch time with their parents, because people are just stuck at home. So that's kind of nice. And not to discount the importance of touch for adults, and especially, for these isolated seniors, absolutely important. But when we think about touch as, when is touch and feeling and I would say holding, just the physical sensations of being touched and holding, when is that the most important? It really is the most important in the first 5 years, because it's so foundational. I mean, we need it as humans, but we don't need it as much as these little tiny wiring brains are. And, touch, the benefits of touch start in literally the first minute of a baby being born. I don't know. Have you heard of skin to skin?
Yes, yeah. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Were you able to do skin to skin with your girls?
I actually was, and
yeah.
I was very lucky that my nurses encouraged that to me, and I'm so glad that they did. And yeah, I mean, both my husband and I did that.
That's
because
awesome.
So important. So important.
Yeah, skin to skin time. So if anyone doesn't know, is just baby's skin, body. So really baby's usually just like in a diaper, is placed directly on somebody's chest, bare chest, not with like a shirt in the way or anything. And that can be anybody. Definitely important with mom, but dad, or if, it wasn't coronavirus, grandpa, or even little, siblings can do skin to skin. And that has so many benefits for that baby. I mean, yeah, even back to like I said, the first minute that baby's being born, it helps stabilize their heart rate, their temperature, their blood sugar levels. It acts as a pain reliever, which is just, to me, just insane to think about that. And that's why, if you have had a baby in the NICU, or maybe you've heard of like kangaroo care, as soon as it's safe enough for the baby to do so, they will put baby on kangaroo care and skin. Even I think nurses will do it sometimes, just because it helps them heal and it helps them grow. And especially if, those little ones have had like some painful procedures, or maybe like the birth was traumatic in some way, it really helps calm them, soothe them, a pain reliever. Skin to skin. So if you think about that physical touch, I mean, I recommend it to people if their babies are crying at 6, 7, 8 months old. Like if you have that inconsolable baby, like let's strip down and get that baby on that chest and reset, and then figure out what's going on, because, it's hard to feed a screaming baby, or hard to figure out or even think about what's going on. So if you can calm that baby down first, then you can kind of problem solve what's going on. But yeah. And so that's recommended in the first hour. Most quality hospitals now, they protect the golden hour, which is really related more towards breastfeeding, because that skin to skin time helps get breastfeeding established. But even if a mom chose not to breastfeed, that skin to skin just has remarkable benefits in that first hour. So good. I'm glad that you guys were able to do that.
Yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and that on top of that, I mean, aside of the benefits, it's just an awesome, wonderful time.
Yeah.
It's an awesome, wonderful time. It's just so special, and it's a time that you're going to remember, I think, forever, especially how you felt at that point, and, having that little creature, that little human being with you. So, all right, let's see how long we have. I'm sorry, Rhegan.
No, I do not care at all.
You can go if you want.
Okay. 2 kind of theories here. Have you heard of the 4th trimester, or the Harlow's monkeys experiment?
I have not, actually.
I'm
very curious.
Okay. So I don't know which I should start with. Okay, I'll start with the 4th trimester. So, there's the 3, obviously, trimesters of a pregnancy. So the 4th trimester is this idea that when a human baby is born, they are not biologically really ready to be born, right? They're not like little calves that stand up and walk and run and are good to go in like the first, I don't know, hour or whatever they do. Babies, for those first really 6 or so weeks, really thrive and need that womb-like environment. So, you think about like being hugged really tight, the way that, you were kind of cramped in the room. You might have experience with your girls, like people would say like vacuum or the blow dryer, but now they have like fancy shusher machines, or naturally that that sound, because again, it's kind of mimicking the womb-like environment, what it sounds like inside the womb. And then like that rocking and that swaying, the mom move here. If you've been holding a baby for a while, you just find yourself standing in line at Target doing it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can verify that.
Yes. Yes. And so, and then like the sucking reflex, like, sucking on fingers, sucking on, however they're feeding, sucking on pacifiers. Well, all of those things are biologically important to establish this baby's like, I am safe, I am secure, these people love me, they're going to take care of me, I don't fear anything, I know that my needs are going to be met. And it's so, and touch is part of all of those pieces, right? Touch is the sucking, the holding, the rocking, the shushing. And that's why you'll hear, and this is difficult generationally, oh, don't hold the baby so much, you're going to spoil them, you're never going to be able to put them down. Like, and science has now shown us that that's wrong, that's not true. And so that can be difficult for like newer generations of parents when they have older generations of parents, telling them those kinds of things. But really, we now know from science that that 4th trimester, you cannot spoil a baby. In fact, if you ignore their needs and don't do all those really tight, close things, you can actually have harmful effects later on from that, and so if you think about a baby who, is always crying, and when they're crying, people don't come and pick them up and swaddle them and hold them and make them feel better. What do they learn about their environment, and what are they learning about their caregivers? And so some babies might just shut off and say like, no one's coming for me, so why am I even gonna try? Which is why I'm always very careful when people, or I want to know more when people say, oh, I'm such a good baby. Like, they never cry. And it's like, why? Why are they not crying? You know, babies are, that's how they communicate. They should be crying at some point, but, or babies will go the other way, which is incredibly like high demand needs, like always crying, always clinging, because they don't know when the next time their needs are going to get met. So we're thinking about like spoiling that baby, you know, those first few months, it's really impossible to do and harmful to not always hold and touch and shush and rock that baby. And so kind of another, like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said, right. I can see all the things that you're saying. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense. If at this stage of our lives, we are dealing with that touch deprivation, you know,
all you want is more of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or want more of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can you imagine at that newborn, at that stage? But yeah, continue, please. I didn't.
Yeah. No. It's true. And you can kind of relate things to how we interact now. Or if you think about, so this is like, could be a whole long other podcast on itself about attachment, but, you know, attachment theory, you know, says that there are different ways that we as humans, starting as babies, learned how to have relationships with other people. And all of us have an attachment style that is established in infancy. So ideally we want like a healthy attachment, right? It's called secure attachment. And secure attachment says, I know you're going to help me when I'm in need. I know I can trust you. I know that you're safe. I know that I am safe. And it's from that healthy, secure attachment that babies start to learn to be more independent, to soothe themselves, etc. But they can't do it without that healthy foundation first. And so you can think about how I'm talking about this as a baby, but you can see it in 4-year-olds. You can see it in 30-year-olds. Like, what is their relationship style like? And, you know, if you think about, I don't know, your friend that's always like, I texted him 1,000 times and he didn't get back to me, and he must, you know, well, I'm gonna drive by his house. Okay. So your attachment style is a little here, you know, so you can see how that plays into relationships later on. And like I said, that, you know, that's way deeper. We could go way deeper into that, but essentially, secure attachment starts young.
Right. Well, there's a lot of connection, I feel, on those two topics. Yeah. How can you not talk to one without talking to the other? I think that they're so connected. And it, like you said, is a long lasting impact that also affects us as an adults, and how we're going to interact with each other, and how we're going to manage certain situations. And this is why I feel that, you know, although, you know, it's something that, yes, I think we all have knowledge that, or we all have acknowledged that during this period of time of COVID, you know, we haven't been able to interact face to face as much or have that touch. But it goes deeper than that. It goes, it's affecting our social and emotional everyday living. You know, that things that we thought how the world is supposed to run, or how we are supposed to, you know, handle, or how we're supposed to greet our neighbor. And